Hello, in this episode, I'm going to discuss about interracial relationship. As we all know that it's very common nowadays to have interracial relationship, where you get to meet someone who's not from your country or the online dating. And I discovered this since the internet boom. So all the sites came out, and also remember before with Yahoo Messenger, like from all sorts of country trying to send you message. So that's where interracial relationship. But I think also even before the internet, but it's very, very, very rare. Unlike now that it's very common. That it's you will see mix of relationship or different nationalities have, getting into a relationship. What are the things that we need to consider having entering into interracial relationship? First is the language barrier. It's very common to not speak the same language, especially when you come from different countries. So that's the first thing. I remember watching a series here in Denmark where there was a Danish who's trying to meet a Thailand and a Thailander, and then so she don't speak Danish and he don't speak English, so they don't have like a one language in between. At least it would be good if you could have like some sort of English, or a common language that you could both speak and understand, so that way you could communicate with each other. So the first thing is language barrier. Learn each other's language, or how are you going to communicate? Now I'm communicating with Ukrainian. We use app. I have a Ukrainian customer here or friend now in the shop who comes. So I don't she don't speak Danish or English. I don't speak Ukrainian, so I just use the app. It's a Microsoft app that you could download from Google Play. I'm promoting that app, but at least nowadays there's some application that you could use to communicate or write, at least write, and then it would be translated in the language of the person you're having a relationship with. And then you have to also second thing to consider is the cultural differences between both of you. So this is your culture, this is your upbringing, and this is this person culture and upbringing. So you have to learn each other's culture and then meet in the middle, because you cannot have like push your own culture and then you have to adapt to this person's culture, so meet halfway. You communicate with which you can, okay, I can adapt this one, and then this person is going to adapt this one, so meet in between and then see which one works best for both of you. And you also have to think about the stereotype and prejudices of one's nationality. Sometimes we meet a person, we have this prejudice, and then we have this stereotyping that we hear or hearsay we hear about. For example, Asians are like this, or European are like that, so or Filipino are like this, or Thailander are like that. So you have like this stereotype, where you have something in your head, your prejudgment that you hear from people without even meeting a person first, so you have this prejudgment. So remove all of that and then meet the person for who they are. Yes. And then you also have to think about, if you're planning to have a relationship with this person, also think about the family structure, or how they are. Are they family tied, or are they not seeing each other, so those are also you need to consider, as well as yeah, the um, family and social dynamics. Like, for example, in the Philippines, we normally carry husband's last name, But in Denmark, you could choose between having your kid have, middle name or not. But in the Philippines, like normal to have a middle name as followed to mother's last name. But in Denmark, it's not the case. You could also, some guys also carry their wife last name. So you decide, so you have to also think about that, especially also in entering marriages. Like for example, in some countries or like here in Denmark as well, there's a prenuptial. In Philippines, it's not really common. So Filipino get sometimes, um, they don't understand why there's a prenuptial. I mean, it's not part of our culture because the culture in the Philippines is like your husband's is yours, his wife's, or so it's like, or in Denmark you share, so it's like, yeah. So you have to also understand that the different family dynamics or different family structure or different ways of living as well, and also the food differences. You also have to think about the food differences because we eat rice all the time in Asia, but in Europe you eat bread or potatoes or spaghetti, pasta, So that's also one thing that you have to learn from each other. And I think the really really good thing to have is an open communication, and then try to understand each other's differences and then meet in the middle. The person's main language is not English, or the other person also main language is not English. So it's some they said that you communicate best when you're using your mother tongue or you're using your own language, especially when it comes to emotions, frustrations, all that, love, hate, everything, best spoken in your own mother tongue. So yes, and then you also have to think about the family. If that person's family is going to accept you as a foreigner, or vice versa, if your family or your friends are going to accept this person, and you also have to think about the racism. It's very common that we don't see it as, as very visible, but it's there. So we also have to think about that, the racism. Especially you also have to think about when you have kids, what culture or what practices you want your kids to have or follow. Do you want it your culture or your wife's culture? So you also have to talk about that. Financial, talk about that. Everything. It's not easy to be in an interracial relationship because most of the time it's just too many challenges. There's just too many challenges in having interracial relationship. I think it's a lot easier when it's the same nationality because you already have the same background, you already have the same culture, you have the same history, you have the same skin color, physical look, but if you really love each other and you think that this is the right person for you, go for it. Accept all the challenges, and in the end what matters is both you and her, or your relationship to each other. So don't think about the outside factor. What matters is your relationship to each other, if it's working well. So good luck to all lovers out there, and hope you find the right person for you. Bye for now.